My brain looked like this during my first few months as a software engineer, and I was working twice as hard and earning half as much. I'm going to show you 3 things that help me increase the wrinkles in my brain and double my salary. What can be measured can be improved. What's the one thing that all professional athletes and bodybuilders do? They build statistics to measure and improve their performance. Professional athletes do it, bodybuilders do it. Why wouldn't you? Let's continue with the athlete analogy. I want to improve the time it takes for me to run 100 meters. This might be their main goal, but if they actually want to improve, they need to break that down further, like this. I want to improve my strides, or I want to improve my cadence. The first step to doing any of these things is to measure them. Then do something that you think will help you improve. Measure it again and compare the results. But how do you measure programming performance? Just like we did earlier, you should plan out some goals, like I want to be a better programmer. Then you break down that goal into smaller, more achievable ones. Let's say you find that you tend to introduce a lot of bugs to your code. So you set yourself a goal. I want to reduce the number of bugs I introduce to my application. Then you go out and do some research into how to prevent bugs, and you come across unit testing and integration testing. Then you apply these things that you've learned, and you see the number of bugs decrease. That is essentially how you'll improve and become a better programmer. This also leads into my next point. If you have to do it 3 times, you should consider automating it. This is a real example of something I had to do. Look at this file. It's a build that needs to be tested in a pre-production environment. In order to get it there, I have to run a series of commands. First, I have to run the SFTP command that will transfer the file. Then, I'd potentially have to navigate to the right directory and place that file there. Once I've done that, I have to SSH into the server in order to configure it to run this file. Once I've configured it to run the file, I have to restart the service and tail the logs. I'm starting to yawn just thinking about having to do this every single time. That impulse to yawn was my signal to automate this. I compiled this whole process into a shell script, which took me about 15 minutes. Then all I had to do was run one line on the terminal and it would just do all this work for me. Imagine having to do this every single time you want to test your application build in a pre-production environment. It's just insane. The next thing you should do is log your successes. If you watch my last video, you know that I got rejected hundreds of times when applying for jobs earlier this year. One of the things that helped me finally land a really good job and double my salary was logging my successes and victories at my previous job. For instance, when I was working on a relatively lightweight application, I noticed that our integration tests were running excessively slow. They were taking nearly 20 minutes to complete. While I was investigating, I discovered that certain tests were attempting to communicate with another application that wasn't operational, causing them to hang while waiting for a response. To address this bottleneck, I used some stubs which generated fake responses to simulate the missing application. This meant that the tests didn't have to wait for a response because the response was instant. The adjustment dramatically reduced the test execution time to just 8 minutes. During interviews, I found that retelling this experience, particularly when prompted with questions like, "Tell me about a time when you showed initiative," or "Tell me about a time when you had significant impact on a project," resonated positively with interviewers. It highlighted my problem-solving abilities, my proactive approach to optimizing processes, and I think you get the point. Have you come across a tip that absolutely changed the way you code and helped you level up? Let me know in the comments down below. If you found any value in this video whatsoever, please drop me a like and subscribe. And if you're curious about the process I went through to level up from junior to mid-level software engineer, consider checking out this video.